Incredible moment. Poor girl helps old man cross street unbeknownst to her. He's a wealthy secret. It was an ordinary Thursday afternoon in Maplewood, a bustling suburban town divided by wealth and strife, with shining mansions on one side and worn-out houses on the other. Emma, a vibrant 13-year-old with wild curls and paint-stained fingers, dashed out of her small cafe, the Cozy Nook. She loved helping her mom, but dreams of becoming an artist danced in her heart, lifting her spirit above the mundane. Just then, she spotted Mr. Thompson, an elderly man in a frayed suit, struggling to cross a busy intersection. His shaking hands clutched the edge of a worn cane, and an anxious look in his eyes caught Emma's attention like a distress signal. Without hesitation, she rushed to his side, offering her hand. "Here, let me help you," she said brightly, her heart racing with purpose. As they shuffled together across the street, laughter floated between them. "You've got quite the grip for such a small girl." Mr. Thompson chuckled, his voice warm. Emma grinned as they paused, catching their breath beside a blooming garden. "Well, I've had to hold my own since my dad left," she shared, her tone softening. They exchanged stories, he reminiscing about his days as an artist, and she passionately discussing her colorful dreams for the future. Weeks melted into one another, and the laughter turned into shadows in Emma's heart. The closing of the local factory had left families struggling, some even facing eviction. Emma could feel the weight of worry in the air, thick enough to choke on. An idea sparked in her mind: organize a fundraiser to bring hope back to her community. Driven by determination, she plastered flyers around town, each passing day filled with mixed emotions, her passion and hope clashing with the despair she saw in her neighbors' eyes. To her surprise, Mr. Thompson became a constant presence, appearing as a gentle silhouette at the cafe, his knowing eyes watching her efforts intently. But then came the news of a wealthy investor wanting to change the town. Some believed his promises, while others felt threatened. Emma's heart ached as friends argued and neighbors divided. Unable to remain silent, she proposed a community meeting to bridge the gap, hoping for unity amidst the storm. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but the meeting backfired. Voices rose, accusing glances flew, and the divisions deepened, leaving Emma feeling defeated. Just when hope felt like a distant memory, an unexpected revelation rocked her world. Mr. Thompson, the old man she once helped, was the investor everyone debated about. She felt the earth shift beneath her feet. He wasn't just some rich stranger. He had become a part of her story. Emma's heart raced. Could he really uplift their community, or would his wealth push them further apart? Standing at this crossroads, Emma couldn't shake the question. How could she bridge the gap between not just different worlds, but souls in conflict? With the lines blurring and hearts aching, the path forward seemed daunting yet full of potential. Would they welcome Mr. Thompson's help, or let old suspicions reign? Emma stood outside the Cozy Nook, watching the sun dip behind the row of houses, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Her heart felt heavy as she tried to process everything that had unfolded that night. Mr. Thompson wasn't just an ally. He was the very man who wanted to change everything about Maplewood. How could she confront him? And how could her neighbors ever trust someone who seemed to represent a world so different from their own? She took a deep breath, letting the crisp evening air fill her lungs as she replayed their last conversation in her mind. Mr. Thompson had shared his vision of a revitalized Maplewood, filled with opportunities, but it hadn't come without its price. There was something about the way he spoke, both passionate and cautious, that left her feeling conflicted. A small part of her believed in his sincerity, while another part screamed, "He is here to take what little we have left." That night, her dreams were a mix of vibrant colors and shadowy figures, limbs outstretched, trying to reach something just out of grasp. And when morning light crept through her curtains, she awoke with a renewed sense of determination. She had to confront Mr. Thompson, but this time, she would be ready to listen, really listen to AT school. Emma shared her ideas for the fundraiser with her closest friends, Mia and Jake. They were supportive, but Mia's thoughtful expression lingered in the air. "Are you sure about him? I mean, maybe he is just a rich guy looking out for himself," she said. Emma nodded. "I get it. But if there's even a chance he could help, I have to find out for sure. I'm going to invite him to the cafe after school." As she waited for Mr. Thompson later that afternoon, anxiety tangled with excitement in her belly. The bell chimed softly, echoing through the cozy cafe. She poured a cup of steaming coffee, the same way she had seen her mother do countless times, and set it on the table along with a slice of freshly baked pie. When Mr. Thompson entered, he looked just as worn out, but somehow lighter. "You're becoming quite the businesswoman, Emma," he said, his smile warm. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me after the other night." "I needed to talk to you," she replied, holding his gaze. "The town is scared. They feel like you're going to strip us of what little we have." "And what do you think, Emma?" he asked, leaning forward, his eyes earnest. "Do you think I'm here to take that away?" Emma paused, feeling the weight of his question. "I don't know. I want to believe you want to help, but it's hard to put my faith in someone who seems so different from us." "Maybe that's the point," he said quietly. "Sometimes, hope comes from the most unexpected places." Emma's heart pounded as she studied his expression. She could see the reflection of a battle in his eyes, a man trying to reconcile two worlds. But what if this opportunity destroys what's already here? She challenged, her voice wavering. "I want to show you, Emma," he replied, an urgent edge to his voice. "Give me a chance to prove it. Let us work together on this fundraiser, and you'll see the change is for the better." For an instant, time seemed to stand still. Emma felt a flicker of hope amidst the confusion, but doubt clung to her like a shadow. Could she trust him? Was it possible for their worlds to collide positively? With her heart racing, she decided, "If I agree to this, will you promise to listen to our concerns?" "Absolutely," Mr. Thompson vowed, his expression resolute. As they shook hands, an unspoken pact filled the room. But deep down, Emma sensed that trust wouldn't come easily. With both excitement and trepidation coursing through her, she wondered how many more walls would have to be broken down before unity could be achieved. As the evening drew to a close, Emma felt the weight of monumental choices resting on her shoulders. Would the community come together under Mr. Thompson's vision, or would old wounds run too deep to heal? And as those thoughts swirled, another question surfaced: what if the partnership led to more profound revelations about who Mr. Thompson truly was? Emma arrived at school the following day with a sense of determination that buzzed through her like electricity. After some initial doubts, she resolved to dig deeper into Mr. Thompson's intentions. The cafeteria was buzzing with laughter and chatter, but she barely noticed. Instead, she found Mia and Jake sitting at their usual table. "What is the plan?" Mia asked, her brow furrowed with concern. "I want to invite him to our fundraiser meetings," Emma said, her tone steady. "If he is really committed to helping, he needs to hear from all of us, not just me." "Okay, but what if he just turns it into another one of his schemes?" Jake replied, always the realist. Emma shrugged. "Then we'll be ready. But if we don't give him a chance, we might miss out on something important. I can't shake the feeling that there is more to him." She could feel her heart race at the thought of uncovering the truth. During their lunch break, Emma drafted a plan. She would gather her neighbors at the cozy nook for a meeting. They needed to feel involved, to see that their fears mattered. She hoped that when people met Mr. Thompson, he might not seem like such a stranger after all. That evening, Emma stood in the cafe, arranging chairs in a circle before the softly glowing lights. The familiar scent of coffee and baked goods made the space feel warm and inviting. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, nervous energy washed over her. Would her neighbors show up? Would they even want to listen? Slowly, the cafe filled with familiar faces, all wearing expressions ranging from skepticism to curiosity. Mr. Thompson arrived punctually, his presence drawing collective glances. He approached Emma, a reassuring smile on his face. "I'm ready." "Okay," she said, clutching the edge of the table. "Just remember, they're afraid." Mr. Thompson nodded, understanding evident in his eyes. The gathering began, and as Emma introduced him, she felt the tension in the air. "Thank you for having me," Mr. Thompson said, his voice warm yet firm. "I'm here not just to share my vision, but to listen. Your voices matter just as much as mine." An uneasy silence fell. Finally, Mrs. Harris, an elder with watchful eyes, spoke up. How can we trust you when you represent everything we're scared of? The change we don't want? Emma held her breath, praying for a thoughtful response. Mr. Thompson paused, taking a moment to weigh his words. I understand your fears. Change is hard, especially when it feels forced. I want you to know that my intentions lie in progress, not displacement. He glanced at Emma before continuing. And together, I hope we can find a path that respects what Maplewood is and what it could become. The room felt charged, with wary glances exchanged. One by one, neighbors began to voice their concerns, sharing stories of why Maplewood was home. Each worry was met with empathetic listening from Mr. Thompson. Emma could see the hesitant beginnings of dialogue forming as the evening wore on. However, doubts began to creep back in. Some people still harbored fears that change would come with a cost, while others began to momentarily see glimmers of hope. Finally, the meeting wrapped up with a poignant question from Emma. What happens next, Mr. Thompson? How can you promise that this will be an equal partnership? He smiled, but this time it was a little less certain. I can't promise that everything will turn out perfectly, but I can promise to keep the lines of communication open. We have to navigate these waters together. Afterward, Emma glanced around at the mixed expressions of hope, uncertainty, and resolve. The spark was there, but how long would it last? As the gathering broke up, she felt a mix of triumph and anxiety swell within her. She had opened the door for conversation, but would anyone step through it? The question lingered. Could a shared desire for transformation overcome the distrust woven into their lives? Emma's heart beat in time with the thought. She needed to know the answer before everything slipped away. The week rolled forward, leaving Emma with more questions than answers. Each day at school felt heavier, filled with whispers and sidelong glances about the recent meeting at the Cozy Nook. She wanted to give Mr. Thompson a chance, yet the warnings of her neighbors echoed in her mind, a constant reminder of the thin line they all walked. The morning after the meeting, Emma spotted Mia and Jake in the courtyard, animatedly discussing something. She approached them, hoping for insight. Hey, any word from anyone about Mr. Thompson? She asked, heart racing. Mia shrugged, her brows knitting together. Some think he seemed sincere, but others are convinced he is just a slick talker trying to manipulate us. Jake ran a hand through his hair. It's tough, Em. You know how it is in a small town. Change isn't welcome. That thought gnawed at her. She wanted to believe Mr. Thompson was different, that his intentions were genuinely rooted in a love for Maplewood. But she knew she couldn't carry this burden alone. They needed a plan. After school, Emma set to work. She spent hours at the Cozy Nook, gathering supplies for a community flyer. Her spirit lifted with every cut and paste, every word she crafted with care. Maplewood matters. Join us for open discussions. She wrote, let us find a way forward together. Excitement coursed through her as she thought about the possibilities. A few days later, flyers adorned telephone poles and a cafe door. And slowly, conversations began to shift. The courage it took for people to voice their opinions impressed Emma. They were willing to try. Just like her at lunch, she noticed a small crowd gathering outside Mr. Thompson's office after school. Curiosity overtook her, and she pushed through the throng, hoping to catch a glimpse of what was happening. He stood surrounded by a couple of heated voices, their frowns stark. What do you want from our town? One man shouted. You can't just come here and expect us to roll over. Emma's heart sank. She stepped closer, searching for words, eager to defend him somehow. But before she could speak, Mr. Thompson's calm voice broke through the commotion. I'm here to help, not to take away what you cherish. Maplewood is thriving because of its people, and it will remain rich through collaboration. Emma's stomach twisted. He was trying so hard. But would it be enough? As the crowd began to disperse, she caught up with him outside. Are you okay? She asked, noting the tension etched in his features. Yes, thank you, he replied, but his eyes betrayed him. It's going to take time, and I understand the fears they carry. She nodded, feeling the weight of their struggle settling on her shoulders. We need to plan something to bring everyone together again. Maybe a community event? Mr. Thompson's eyes lit up. That sounds perfect. We can showcase the stories of Maplewood's residents, what makes this place home. It might help bridge the gaps. Emma felt a spark of hope. This could work. Maybe this was the way to show everyone they could indeed collaborate for betterment. But as the idea took form in her mind, another thought hit her hard. Was Mr. Thompson really committed, or was he just playing a role, too? She held on to her optimism, but the remnants of doubt lingered in the back of her mind that as the plan solidified, she sensed a shift in the air. Hearts began to open, but what would happen when their true desires and fears were ultimately laid bare? Emma stood on the brink of a discovery, a voice in the storm. The next few days would either strengthen their community or break it apart. What awaited her in the unfolding story of change? The days flew by as Emma and Mr. Thompson prepared for the community event. Each afternoon after school, they met at the cozy nook, their excitement infectious. Now, the cafe buzzed not only with the aroma of fresh coffee, but also with murmurs of possibility. Emma. Mia's voice broke through her thoughts as she arrived, a stack of papers in hand. I heard about the stories we'll showcase. This is big. Emma's heart quickened, right? It feels like a real chance to unite everyone. We can even invite those who were skeptical. Mia nodded, but looked a bit hesitant. Just be careful, okay? Not everyone is open to change. Emma tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I know, but I truly believe this is the path we need. If they hear each other's stories, maybe they'll see they're not so different after all. The week leading up to the event was a whirlwind. Posters went up, announcing Maplewood's voices, a night of connection and sharing. The excitement was palpable, but so were the undercurrents of doubt. Emma often caught snippets of conversations, minds wrestling with change. Will they truly open up? Will anyone listen? On the night of the event, the town hall glowed warmly against the cool autumn evening. Fairy lights sparkled, lighting up the faces of Maplewood residents as they trickled in, curiosity pulling them forward. Emma stood near the entrance, greeting people as they arrived. Her nerves danced beneath her skin. Mr. Thompson joined her, a wide smile on his face. Look at this turnout. It's amazing, Emma. You've really inspired them. Let us just hope they feel the same way once it starts, she replied, feeling both excitement and fear mixing in her belly. Soon, the room filled with chatter. Laughter. Faces glowed with a warmth that reminded Emma of family reunions. It felt sweet, and she couldn't help but think they had made a small dent in the walls separating them as the first speaker stepped up to the mic. A hush fell over the crowd. An older woman, Miss Clara, began sharing her story, her voice quavering but strong. It wasn't just her past that moved Emma, but the way the audience leaned in, absorbed in every word. Clara spoke of raising her children alone, the joy and harshness of growing up in Maplewood. There were murmurs of agreement, nods of familiar struggles. Emma exchanged glances with Mr. Thompson, and for a moment, hope blossomed in her chest. Maybe this was enough. This connection, this shared vulnerability. But as Clara's story unfolded, Emma saw Jack at the back, arms folded tightly across his chest. His face revealed frustration. Why are we listening to this? Why isn't anyone talking about real issues? He hissed to a friend. Emma's heart sank. Was the promise of change too fragile? She thought back to the emotions everyone had braved to share their stories, placing their trust in one another. Then, suddenly, Jack's voice broke through the warmth of connection, chilling the air. You want to bring us together? How can you ignore the truths of our town's problems? We can't hide from what's broken. Gasps echoed around her. Mr. Thompson looked stunned, caught off guard by the vehemence in Jack's words. Emma felt anger swirl within her, but it was mixed with sorrow. She longed to bridge that growing gap, to help everyone see that they needed to voice both dreams and worries to truly understand one another. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, heart pounding. Jack, I think we need to hear everything. Your fears matter just as much as Clara's joys. This is just the beginning. If we truly want to make Maplewood better, we can't shy away from hard conversations. The room held its breath, and Emma squared her shoulders. Would they listen, or would this be the moment that shattered everything? As she waited for the crowd's reaction, Emma felt the weight of change pressing down on her. This moment could lead them to understanding or drive them further apart. What would they choose? The silence lingered like a thick fog, wrapping around Emma and making it hard to breathe. All eyes were on Jack, the tension palpable. She could feel the expectant gaze of the crowd, their judgment hovering in the air like an unspoken challenge. But then, slowly, Clara stepped down from the stage. She approached Jack, her voice calm yet firm. Jack, we're here to share our truths, all of them. You can't just dismiss someone else's experience because it doesn't fit into your view of what matters. That small act of bravery ignited a spark. A few people clapped quietly. The hesitance thickened into something more recognizable, unspoken fears exposed in the light. Emma felt her heart beat faster, filling the silence with hope. Jack glanced around, still defensive but visibly softened. I just don't want us to overlook the issues we need to face: the job losses, the crime, the real hardships. Another voice joined in, a young man named Ryan. You're right, Jack. There are issues we need to tackle. But isn't this a chance to connect? Maybe understanding is the first step? Emma let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. The crowd seemed to breathe out with her, voices beginning to blend, murmurs rising as others shared their thoughts. Agreed, shouted an older gentleman named Mr. Flanders. But we need to balance the joys and the struggles. If we face the good with the bad, maybe we can figure this out together. That was it. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. She glanced at Mr. Thompson, who nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. This was what they hoped for: open dialogue. Jack seemed to be considering their words more thoughtfully now, his posture relaxing just slightly. So we share everything, huh? Our fears too? Yes, Emma called out, emboldened. But it's about listening. We can't just hear one side or another. Each story is a piece of the puzzle. Hearing everything is essential if we want real change. The crowd murmured in agreement, some faces softening as they absorbed Emma's plea. Together, they could create a tapestry woven from their diverse experiences. As Jack began to unfold his own struggles, how he lost a job and found himself lost in bitterness, Emma realized there was a chance to really unite Maplewood. More voices sprang forth. They shared laughter, sorrow, and anger. Words spilled like a flowing river, each story a droplet joining a larger pool. Laughter erupted at a humorous quip, mournful nods for struggles shared. It's as if everyone was finally seen, their contributions acknowledged. But then the lights flickered, and a chilling wind breezed through the hall. Emma turned, noticing the heavy clouds gathering outside. The town's voice mirrored the weather. Dark clouds masked the connection they were finally building. Would the storm break before they could mend the cracks in their community? As the first raindrops pattered against the windows, Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. She exchanged worried glances with Mr. Thompson. What happens if we can't resolve these feelings before the storm hits? She muttered, knowing full well that around them, underlying tension still loomed. As the thunder rumbled in the distance, a question formed in her mind. Would their newfound openness withstand the storm, or would the cracks deepen, dragging them back into silence? With each heartbeat, the stakes felt increasingly high. This connection was fragile, and time was running out. What would they do next? The rain began to drown out the voices, the soft patter quickly turning into a steady drumbeat against the windows. Emma's heart raced with each drop that echoed around them. The storm was no longer a mere threat. It had arrived, swarming them with its low growls and heavy breaths. That Jack's voice broke through her thoughts, shaky yet filled with determination. Look, I didn't realize how deep this goes for all of us. It's so easy to overlook when you're just trying to survive day to day. His admission was met with a wave of nods from the crowd, the kind of understanding that came from shared experiences. The air grew thick with emotion. Emma could see tears in the eyes of a mother holding her child close, a teenager who previously thought he had to hold everything together, now looking vulnerable. They were all here, exposed and raw, yet the truth of their united struggle somehow felt like a blanket shielding them against the storm outside. Let us keep this going, Clara suggested, stepping closer to the front. Everyone deserves to be heard. What is more important right now than sharing what weighs us down? An electric hum filled the room, a current of hope embracing them as more people spoke up. Someone shared a story of loss, another, a tale of joy despite hardship. The stories intertwined. They drew out laughter and tears, creating a tapestry of resilience. But the storm grew louder. Thunder cracked like a whip, and flashes of lightning painted everything in sharp white light. Someone gasped, and suddenly everyone was looking towards the windows as the sky cracked open and the rain poured down in sheets. Fear flickered across faces. The storm wasn't just outside. It felt like it was seeping through the very walls of their sanctuary. Keep talking, Emma shouted above the rising din. Don't let the storm distract us. We need each other now more than ever." Her plea ignited a fire. Stories spilled forth even faster than the rain. A woman recounted how she had started a community garden after losing her job, creating food where it was needed most. A father shared his struggle with depression in the face of unemployment, but also of the small moments that brought him joy with his kids. As the tales flowed and merged, something shifted. The connection they had fought to build began to solidify, grounding them against the chaos. Then came a knock, sudden and forceful, jolting everyone in the room. Emma glanced at Mr. Thompson, who looked equally startled. "Shouldn't someone check it?" he offered. A few people exchanged worried glances, unsure if they should risk breaking the vulnerability they decreated. Finally, Jack stood up, wiping his sweat-slicked brow with the back of his hand. "I'll go," he said, his voice steady. "It might be important." The wall of tension shifted, anticipation electrifying the air as Jack moved towards the door. Emma couldn't shake a sense of dread. It was just a storm outside, wasn't it? But why did it feel like more than that? The door creaked open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the lightning flashing behind. Emma's heart skipped. What could possibly be waiting out there, and how would it affect the delicate balance they were building? As the storm raged on and Jack stepped out, a tightening knot of anxiety formed in Emma's chest. And just like that, the connection they had forged felt fragile again. What awaited them on the other side of that door? Would it shatter their progress, or be the push they needed to truly unite? The door swung open wider, and the figure stepped inside, drenched and shivering. Emma squinted through the darkness, but the flicker of lightning briefly illuminated a familiar face. It was Mr. Kowalski, the old man from down the street. His thin frame was trembling, not just from the cold, but from something deeper. "Jack," he gasped, his voice barely a whisper, nearly drowned out by the storm. "Help, I need help." Emma's heart twisted. She could see the fear etched into his lined features, the way his body seemed to fold in on itself like a fragile paper crane. Jack rushed over, concern written all over his face. "We're right here, Mr. Kowalski," he reassured, placing a steadying hand on the man's shoulder. "Just take a breath." "What's wrong?" The room hung heavy with anticipation as the storm raged outside, and Mr. Kowalski fumbled with his words. "It's my wife," his voice caught, a choked sob threatening to escape. "She has fallen. She's in the basement. I can't get to her, and no one else is around." Panic pulsed through the crowd. Emma felt an overwhelming surge of empathy and urgency. The stories they had shared moments ago seemed to fade into the background. Here stood a man, desperate and vulnerable, needing them now more than ever. Jack's gaze flicked across the room, his voice ringing with resolve. "We need to go help him. Who's with us?" Slowly, hands began to rise, filling the air with murmurs of agreement. As each person stepped forward, the sound of the storm seemed to lessen, almost as if it recognized the gravity of the moment. Emma hesitated for just a second, but that second quickly melted away when she saw Clara nodding firmly beside her. "I'm in," Clara said, her voice steady. "Let us go?" They formed a small group, hearts pounding and fear gnawing at the edges, but determination was stronger. Together, they followed Mr. Kowalski out into the chaos, the rain hammering down like bullets against their skin. The basement door stood slightly ajar, revealing darkness that swallowed all light. Emma could feel the weight of the fear pressing down on them, but there was also a flicker of something stronger, hope. They scrambled down the wooden steps, the slickness of the surface making each step feel like a gamble. "Mrs. Kowalski?" Jack called out, his voice echoing in the damp space. Silence. The tension in Emma's chest mounted. She could practically feel the storm vibrating through her bones. She exchanged a worried glance with Clara, who appeared equally anxious, and then, from the shadows, a muffled voice called back, "I'm here. Help me, please." Heart racing, Emma forced herself to remain calm, even as adrenaline surged through her. "We're coming," she shouted, pushing through the cold air toward Mr. Kowalski, who was already trying to make sense of the darkness. The air was thick, making it hard to breathe. Emma reached out, the sound of Jack's encouraging words and the faint glow of a flashlight piercing the gloom. One step at a time, they moved closer to the voice guiding light through the chaos. Just as hope began to blossom within her, a loud crash echoed from above, rattling the wood and sending a jolt of fear coursing through her. The storm was taking its toll in more ways than they had anticipated. "Slow down," Jack called as the group stumbled cautiously forward, unsure of what lay ahead. And with that ominous sound still ringing in their ears, Emma couldn't shake the lingering feeling that they were racing against more than just time. What would they find when they reached Mrs. Kowalski? Would they be able to bring her back to safety, or would the storm consume them all in the end? Emma's heart pounded as she pushed deeper into the darkness. Each step seemed to stretch an eternity. Jack, ahead with the flashlight, illuminated parts of the basement dusty, cluttered, and filled with echoes that were unsettling against the backdrop of the raging storm. Shadows danced like specters, feeding her anxiety, but the muffled voice of Mrs. Kowalski pulled her forward. "Please, I can't move." The voice strained against the chaos. "Hold on. We're coming," Jack shouted, urgency wrapping around his words. Emma squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, inhaling deeply. She forced herself to focus, to drown out the roar of the wind and the fear clamoring for her attention. "Emma, can you check over there?" Clara's voice pulled her back. Pointing to a pile of old boxes and a fallen shelf, she nodded earnestly, determined to help. The basement felt alive around her, and with every beat of her heart, she surged forward, tossing aside filth. "Where is she?" Mr. Kowalski cried out, desperation lacing his tone as he too began to sift through the wreckage, his frail frame moving with surprising urgency. "I don't know, just keep calling." Emma's voice broke slightly, exposed but resolute. The sound of the rain pounding intensified, almost drowning out their words. It felt suffocating, the space closing in on her as flashes of lightning illuminated unsettling corners filled with forgotten objects. Suddenly, Clara's hand shot out, and she pointed through a slant of shadow to a figure lying on the cold floor, partly hidden beneath debris. "There!" It triggered a surge of adrenaline in Emma. They rushed over together, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the chaos swirling outside. "Mrs. Kowalski," Jack shouted, kneeling down and pulling debris aside. Emma joined him, her trembling hands working to clear the way. She caught a glimpse of a woman's frail hand. "Please help." Mrs. Kowalski's voice was barely a whisper now, agonizing but full of hope. Emma's throat tightened as she looked at Mr. Kowalski, tears brimming in his eyes. "We're almost there, just hold on," she encouraged, pushing harder against the weight of worry settling over her. Together, they freed Mrs. Kowalski from the wreckage. Jack cradled her head, while Mr. Kowalski knelt beside her, relief spilling out, even through his fear. "My love, we're here. Just breathe." But as Emma surveyed Mrs. Kowalski's pale face, her heart sank. The woman's eyes fluttered open, filled with confusion and pain. "What happened?" she murmured weakly. Emma could see a faint glimmer of awareness still clinging to life, yet a sense of dread loomed, heavy and immeasurable. "Des Clara," and Jack spoke soothing words to her. The ground beneath them trembled again, the crash from above louder this time, as if the house itself was protesting their efforts. "Stay calm," Jack called, but the storm was relentless. "I don't think we have much time," Emma murmured, her heart beating against her chest like a drum. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted something, a small beam of light flickering in the corner of the basement, illuminating an old wooden door that she had never noticed before. "What's that?" she whispered, feeling every hair on her body rise. With the echo of the storm still reverberating in her ears, she felt an irresistible pull toward the door. It beckoned her in a way that felt both terrifying and compelling. What lies behind it? Emma wondered, a question that sent shivers through her. Before anyone could answer, she made the decision that could change everything. "I need to see," she whispered to herself, taking a step towards the glowing door. But would it bring them salvation or open the floodgates to even more danger lurking behind the storm? Emma took a deep breath, fighting the wave of fear that crashed over her like the raging storm outside. The flickering light danced like an oasis in a desert of shadows, and she couldn't shake the feeling that it held something vital, something they needed. "Emma, wait," Jack called, but the urgency in her heart drowned out his plea. She moved closer, feeling her way through the chaos, her fingers grazing the door's splintering surface. "Where do you think that leads?" Clara's voice was laced with concern, but Emma was already filled with resolve. "I don't know," she said, "but we have to try something." The heaviness pressed in on them, the sounds of the storm growing louder, almost as if hinting at the danger of inaction. Every instinct told her that this was a moment that could change everything. With a shaky hand, she pushed the door open, the creaking hinges echoing like an alarm. Beyond the doorway lay a narrow staircase descending into deeper darkness. The light pulsed from below, flickering like a heartbeat, urging her on. She turned back to the others, looking at Mr. Kowalski, whose eyes were wide with a mix of hope and fear. "I can't leave her here," he said. "You heard her. We need to get her somewhere safe." Emma glanced at Jack, then at Clara. "We can't stay here. We have to go down and see what is happening. It might help." With a nod of determination, Jack stepped forward and followed Emma down the staircase. Clara and Mr. Kowalski came closely behind, their collective resolve igniting a flicker of courage within each one of them. As they descended, the walls slowly absorbed the light spilling from beneath, revealing what looked like a small underground room. The flickering glow settled on an old oil lamp, illuminating a dusty table littered with forgotten sketches and canvases, remnants of someone who had dared to dream long ago. "Wait, this is..." Emma breathed, her heart racing as she realized the drawings and paintings hinted at life and stories much like their own. "It's someone else's art. Someone who tried to bring their dreams to Maplewood." Jack's eyes widened, and the weight of the revelation hit them. They were standing in a hidden treasure trove of untold legacies that had been buried, just like the dreams many held close but never dared to express. The glow flickered again, and Emma felt an uncanny connection to the place. It was as if the spirits of those stories lingered, whispering encouragement to her and the group. "This can be our chance," she said urgently, glancing at Mr. Kowalski. "What if we use this space to showcase everyone's stories and artworks?" Mr. Kowalski blinked, absorbing Emma's words. "But how? With the storm?" "And no, this is the moment," Emma urged. "If we bring everyone together through their art, their stories, we can heal this town. We can turn fear into connection." Clara nodded slowly, the flicker of hope igniting again in her chest. "This could be the bridge we need. We can invite everyone to come share what they've created, or even just what they love about Maplewood." Jack smiled, the dim light casting a warm glow on his face. "We can document everything here. Show the community that they belong to something vibrant, something precious." Encouraged, Emma darted around the room, finding supplies buried beneath dust brushes, paints, even more canvases. "Everyone has something to offer," she urged, "and it's all waiting right here. We can invite the community to express their fears, their joys, their lives. It's a chance for everyone to shine." With a metal piece of courage in her spine, Emma turned to Mr. Kowalski. "Please, we need your help too. Let us bring your wife here. She deserves to see Maplewood's light again." And just like that, the storm raging above paled in comparison to the renewed spirit emerging within them. The adrenaline surged as Mr. Kowalski ventured back up the stairs, each heartbeat resonating with a rhythm that echoed hope. "Remember, this will take teamwork," Clara added, her determination clear. "We'll need to involve everyone, even those who were scared." The flickering light felt like a beacon, a promise of transformation, urging them on as they set to work gathering supplies, sketching plans, and preparing their declaration of unity. Hours passed, and as they finally emerged from the hidden room, the storm outside raged on, but the energy within the group felt electric. Emma turned toward the door, her eyes bright with conviction. They would put on the showcase of their stories a night where the fears would mingle with the dreams, a chance for every soul in Maplewood to connect through art and expression. "This is our moment," she said, breathless as they stepped back into the tempest. "Let us show them that we are Maplewood together, every voice matters, and we are stronger united." With that, they stepped into the chaos of the storm, but now it didn't feel like a threat. Together, they would weather it all because now, beneath the darkness of the clouds, rooted in the heart of their community, a flicker of hope had sparked into a blazing fire. And as they ventured out into the rain, Emma felt more alive than ever, invigorated by the stories yet to be told and the trust that had begun to mend their fractured town. Now, go out into your lives and make connections. Share your stories. Tap into the artistic spirit in your community. We can change the world around us, one voice at a time. Before you do, remember what you've just witnessed. You need to subscribe now to keep this journey alive. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and let us spread this transformation far and wide. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. I want to hear from all of you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this inspiration. Let us make sure every story finds its voice.